This is a video about problems which arise when you attempt to talk about two completely different areas of thought, areas of study within the same forum or group, specifically spirituality as well as critical gender studies, social studies, sociology, and whatnot. And there are discrepancies that are going to arise if you try to talk about either of these two things in the same group, in the same room. Another thing would be mental illness. It's very difficult to talk about mental illness and spirituality in the same place, as these two things are going to be causing a lot of friction in the communities. It's really hard to talk about these two things together. It's not something that people are really looking for, like the popular thing that they're looking for when they go online looking for these resources, spirituality topics versus social studies topics. And this is necessary preface, as I'd like to talk about you can't enjoy a conversation about critical gender studies and also talk about spirituality and not expect there to be some kind of difficult area to breach when you're talking about these things. So this video was inspired by a conversation I had on a social media site, which was a series of responses about gender performance in a spirituality forum or area. And I'd like to talk about specifically how the two sexes and the two major gender areas, social constructs, how they are different in terms of battle tactic or battle within the social arena. It's not the same, and this might be difficult to come to terms with when you are young or newer to what you need to do socially. So what I wanted to talk about was the difference in battle tactics when it comes to men versus women, the masculine versus the feminine. What is different in terms of how people will destroy a strange other or a nuisance even, or someone who is different, not necessarily a nuisance or tearing people down. The difference there is that a nuisance would be someone who is a sick person, basically, or a person who is really deep in a mire and is genuinely a harmful person to anyone around. Though there are also people who are, for whatever reason, different than the main preference, or for whatever reason they might prefer something that is alternative to popular mechanism. It's the old story of the witch burning alive a witch. Who was the witch? The witch was the woman who was not afraid to use curse words, to take power, to show leadership, skill in the arena, the battle arena, which I think business is a really good place to discuss that. Business and social arenas, there's a lot of leadership roles that are empty, and we'll get into that too. So the idea is that someone who goes against the flow, that is preferred by the main populace, someone who is an outcast to a group. What is the difference in how a female might be managed? A bad female a bizarre, an outcast, a freak, the female that is not as agreeable to the popular notion, but is still communicative. So that's a key word, communicative. What is the difference in how male versus female attack this witch, burn the witch? What are the different ways? So I think it's important to discuss, since this is a great reason why there's so much need for a third option, whether it comes to gender or anything, and in any place where there are multiple types of people, multiple genders of people, being together in the same room, there's going to be some kind of friction, and there's going to be some kind of glomming together of the same-sexed people together, and most likely. And there will be need to consider what you do, how you respond to people, how you choose to contribute to the flow of the conversation. So we'll use like a party here, like a summer party, picnic party, a gathering of people, and as an example to refer back to, because I'll need to paint a picture, so to speak, for this to be very clear. So what I wanted to say most of all was, what are the different methods that are used via masculinity versus via femininity? What are the major tools that are relied upon for people who perform either of these two genders and are performing them at the moment, who are being witnessed as this particular gender type? What is the assigned role to that? What does it mean, and how is it different from the opposite on the spectrum? So, in short, this can be summed up as the masculine attempt to eliminating the other, or for confrontation. So the masculine attempt towards confrontation is generally through a direct melee, a battle, a fight, brawling. You want to take it out back, let's have a fist fight, you know what I mean? That's the general male approach, is the aggression, direct head-on battling. That's what is the prototype of masculinity, in a sense, is to be confrontational, to be head-on and hit them straight on and demand some kind of showdown. So it's very upfront and witnessable, visible right away as it happens on its own. And that's very different from the female construct of battle tactic. And I'm saying battle tactic since we all have to fight one way or another, because people are social and social creatures, butt heads sometimes. Sometimes we disagree. So the female tactic is not so confrontational. It's not aggressive. And it's not passive-aggressive either. Okay, passive-aggressive is a middle ground, which is neither passive nor aggressive. And it's not healthy. Passive-aggression. Passive-aggression is not taking a stance at all. It's, it's procrastinating. It's filibustering. If this were a political arena, politicians and lawyers and whatnot, it's filibustering. Being passive-aggressive is taking neither a passive nor an aggressive stance. It's loitering. It's procrastinating. So the female method is more passive, by means of social ostracization. That's a very major one. The female attempt to eliminate a strange other is typically through degrading them socially, making it seem that they are less palatable to the man, who is the expected, sexual gratification, to that group. So what they do here is, through gossip, through forming cliques, through spreading rumors, which are seen as harmless, harmless gossip. It's harmless. Nobody knows, it doesn't cost me anything, right? It does cost quite a bit of energy to make a rumor. It does. It's a battle tactic. So the area I'm trying to discuss here, the different social arenas of battle by gender are based on what is more confrontational and witnessable to all and individualistic versus what is more socially stratified and what is a means of passively usurping a person's power, passively usurping an individual's power, as opposed to head-on confronting them and tearing them down right there where everyone can see. The passive mode is to be slowly sucking away at a person's whole vibrancy by means of sucking away at their bits of power, by isolating them and looking to make them appear less desirable as a whole to males, typically. So one way, for example, would be to spread a rumor that there's something really gross about what this female does, and it's not at all based on reality. It might be completely fabricated. It might not have any correlation with anything that has happened in the party. Like, they might say, oh, those shoes that she got, I heard that she just picked them up out of the dumpster right there by the picnic tables and brought them over here, and I heard that she does this all the time and walks all over barefoot, probably wipes her hands on the table sheet, with the food, and that one's pretty nasty. The point here is that the tactics are completely different in terms of arena. The female tactic is to be more social and to reduce someone's social power, and the male tactic is to be head-on, confrontational, and maybe, tear them down. It's more aggressive. It's going to be immediate. And there is that third, which is neither of these two tactics. So it would be the difference between disturbing the whole of a person and disturbing the area in which they have. So it would be like attacking a person's home and environment as opposed to attacking a person's body. So these are two real differences about the performances of either of the two genders. And that's important to think about when coming to terms with the roles you play in society as according to the gender performance, in the particular day or time. And I think it's worth noting, since sometimes it can be difficult to talk about what female to female aggression looks like, and how it may differ from male to male aggression. The point overall being that it is still just as harmful. It is just as harmful. Even if there's no fist fight with a bloody face, it can end up with a lot of other horrible behaviors of female to female bullying, clique forming, just doing all kinds of otherwise horrible things, spreading just horrible rumors, taking pictures of these people in less than ideal places, and it can be violence too. What I'm saying here is that there must be consideration of female to female aggression being equally horrifying as male to male aggression. Whether or not the overall, physical look of it is different, it can lead to horrible things. That's an important thing to consider in terms of talking about critical gender studies and learning about that. And furthermore, something you might see for people who are new and younger, to learning all of these things about their bodies and their minds and how they relate to the social whole, the social organism, is that it is an organism, it's living, it has a response, and it has various methods of the response. And abuse is abuse. Whatever form it takes, it's abuse. Harassing someone in a class, like a girl clique of people, lomming together and deciding that they're going to make the environment extremely uncomfortable for a single female who, for whatever reason, may have slightly different taste in whatever she consumes. And it could be based on where they're from, it could be based on how they look, it could be based on something like, she doesn't like to hang out with us, or she always has something to say, and we're gonna do our best to make her uncomfortable. So we might not straight out call her out to a fight at the back of the yard, though that happens too. It'll often be something more like, we're going to poke on her in the hallways, we're going to spread nasty rumors, gossip about her, and we might even try talking to men to try to spread the word that she's a nasty girl, and let's just ruin her reputation. So that's what I wanted to talk about, is that the female approach tends to be about ruining a reputation and tearing someone down socially. So the reason I wanted to bring this up was I recently got into a little argument with someone online, and I was responding to a small post about gender and spirituality, and I felt the need to describe what I imagine to be fairly good distinctions as to how to embody masculinity, which is not toxic, how to embody femininity, which isn't toxic either. And someone very angrily responded to me for delineating differences between masculinity and femininity, that I was spreading misandry and misogyny, and that was extremely difficult to hear. I didn't take it to heart because I reckon they're a young person, and when you're younger, you might feel a little more trigger happy to call people out before you've really understood what's happening. So you might have more nihilism, a little bit more reason to get angry before there's really a reason for you to get angry. So the key part here is that there is a difference between the performance of masculinity and femininity. Those are two different areas in which a person can venture. And it is important to give honor and give vision to the struggles that are unique to the female, okay? In terms of how a female is most likely to experience abuse within the social arena of females. It's not necessarily the same as what a male might experience at the hands of toxic males. And there's too much sensitivity whenever this topic is brought up. People start to defend women who aren't asking to be defended, who don't need to be defended. People start attacking people for describing differences between females and males and redirecting the topic, and not realizing they may be fighting against the very people who wrote the resources that they're quoting from poorly. And the sensitivity, the oversensitivity, is extremely annoying. It's bothersome, and it does more damage to the people who are doing the good work than not. It does more damage to you than you realize. It's extremely harmful. And it's not just social justice activists, it's people from all over the spectrum. People who might not be that interested in critical gender studies, people who might have been happy to say, I'm not a feminist, when that was a thing. I think that was a thing maybe in the mid 2010s, I'm not a feminist. I feel like I saw that in a way. I'm not a feminist, but yada 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 yada, women should have the right to drive cars. And it's like, okay, I can see that you're from the US like me, and we're way past that. That's not the hot topic. That's not the issue on the table right now, is that women need to drive cars. So yeah, I see that you don't fuck with the I see that you don't really do the feminism thing. Okay, that's fine. So I'm bringing this up because it can be difficult to have to deal with other females, if you have to, who may still not wish to treat you as an equal, even though they could treat you as an equal, even if you have certain different preferences. So that's extremely wrong. That's bad. It's cruelty that's not necessary, and it's not the kind of cruelty that leads to, it's not good. So you see a lot of people popping up, like talking about, oh, but what about such and such new idea, a new trend about how does this protect women? How does this protect, fat positivity, sex positivity? If you are saying there's a difference between the male social construct and the female social construct, which are two different things, and the whole feminist movement, the whole critical gender movement, all of these movements are born from needing a way to express these specific pains that come with existing within either of these two social constructs in the spectrum, where there are sure many different areas that you can inhabit, and it can be pretty subjective what a person believes about your presentation, whether it is more feminine or masculine, So it's really hard to reckon with, but it must be done. That there are different methods and MOs to the female mind than the male mind. That's something that ought to be considered. So let's just go over it again. Females socially will ostracize a person. That's how they will eliminate the baddie, the person that, that's weird, burn the witch, And males are more likely to be head on and just insult you, right to your face. But that's how it is. And it's worth considering and talking about. Since it is difficult to have to reckon with people who are within your own gender construct, or you'll have to talk to them more, maybe, if this is a work picnic gathering. It is difficult to have a way to talk to these people who may have been gossiping behind your back, or maybe, demeaning you and your stylistic preferences, whatever it is, for no apparent reason. And it's not like you couldn't have found a clever way to say you don't agree with something, You can do that. But you're looking for a fight. That's what you're doing. You're starting a fight with me. But it's more like, you know what? I'm gonna slowly show you that you just don't really fit in. Cliques are more feminine in terms of what does the aggro come on as. Okay, what does it come on as? For what reason do I need to have this discussion with you? For what reason do I need to defend myself? When I just got here, it's a bright, fresh morning, and for some reason I'm being confronted on something tangential to what we're doing, what we're talking about. We could have had a perfectly normal conversation, but you're getting drunk right in front of me in the office building, in the in the deli where we're working, serving food to people. You have this expression on your face, like you're crying inside, but also you're hitting anyone around you who's saying, you okay? That's what it looks like. You really do have a terribly angry expression there on your face. And I'm not talking about any one person, okay? For some reason, it's not well expounded on that females may insult and degrade and harass and be generally chaotically bad, in a way that is just as harmful of how men do it in their more angry states. Women have anger issues too. Women do poor conduct as well. Women also will, go out of their lane. Women will go out of their lane, even defending women's rights, without having properly done their research. And that is also tough to deal with. And that also requires open talk about it. It's like, it's not an easy lesson to learn that female to female interaction can be so egregious, that it can be hurtful and self-involved, even if they're starting to speak the language of new feminist theories or trends that are going around. So I wanted to say that there's a lot of things you can do that would be fair in battle, but being underhanded is recognizable. Spreading false rumors is bad conduct. Attacking something that someone holds close to them is bad conduct, is poor battle behavior. It's poor bad behavior. And it is written in pretty much any work contract you sign that it is harassment to attack someone's beliefs, including things that they hold close to them, whatever those things might be, however unknown it might be to you personally, living in a social bubble that is different. That counts as harassment, and you can get a little talking to from the HR department. You can get in trouble if that person were to choose to, report you. What you're doing is not fun. It's not fun and games. And there are good examples of people with different tastes and beliefs and creeds to interact all right. Fair enough. So if you are doing poorly in battle, you are being egregious, and it's bad conduct. It doesn't need to be such an underhanded way of life. There can be better methods for dealing with something troublesome that don't require going around the back, being low as dirt. There can be better ways.